A record of 9 up and 4 down. They come off the loss last night in Sacramento. Here's Wallace losing the handle, and Utah goes to the offense. The Jazz last night in Salt Lake City beat the Celtics 99-86, avenging last week's loss to Boston. And they shot 51% from the field, which for Utah is a very high percentile.
Remember, Utah always had one of the outstanding backcourts as far as field goal percentage goes. Then Jeff Hornacek retires, and Stockton is having a different type of season this year. This whole Utah team has experienced some things that they normally don't experience, like high number of turnovers, not making shots they used to make, as we just see Stockton this one.
Utah averaging just under 18 turnovers per game. That is the second most in the NBA, and although they played well last night against the Celtics, they did turn it over 17 times. Here's Patterson.
We asked Jerry Sloan why so many turnovers. He said because, you know, part of it is due to the new rules that are in effect. They force our best guys to give up the basketball by double teaming, and some of the other players don't have the same ability to make the passes that have to be made.
Karl Malone looking to hit the cutting Stockton, but it was broken up. Anderson. Here's Patterson getting the step, rejected from behind by Marshall. Shot clock is down to 6. Daniel Marshall is on it. Here's Marshall, and he's fouled by Anderson.
Yes, sir.
The former home of the Grizzlies. We played 2 minutes of this first quarter. Not much happening, folks.
Like what Jerry Sloan told us about last night's game. He said, you know, I honestly can't say that we played real good basketball in the beginning of that game, but it turned out okay in the end.
Along with the high shooting percentage, 51%, they blocked 11 shots last night. Here's Stevenson. The shooting has not only been off, it has been way off at both ends. Patterson is fouled. Wallace played by Malone and fouled.
When you are playing and you're head up against Karl Malone as an offensive player, you know that when you go up, you better get the ball up past your waist quickly, because in the end, Malone will reach in and try to strip you. Right here is where he normally tries to strip people that time too much arm. So Wallace goes to the foul line for his 2 free throw attempts.
Looking back at last night's Portland loss to the Kings, we were talking earlier with Maurice Cheeks, rookie head coach of the Blazers. He said that it was just a listless performance by his Blazers. Maurice complaining about his team's lack of effort, particularly in the first half. They scored 12 points in the first quarter, 26 points in the half. He said it looked like we had no purpose out there in the first half.
Well, if there's one disappointing thing to him from when he came here, is the little half-court trap takes place by Portland, and Utah tries to attack it right away. They always attack presses by flashing Karl Malone to the middle of the floor, hit Karl, tell him to turn and look opposite, and there they had the 2-on-1. But going back to Maurice Cheeks, he said, I just thought we'd have more energy more often throughout the games, and just hasn't been there. I thought this team would be much longer. Man ran out. There was no one to cover the backcourt. The easy score for the Trailblazers.
Here's Stevenson. And one-shotted out for Utah. Stoudemire putting moves on Crotty and fires. Yes. Damon Stoudemire has given the Blazers a 23-4 lead. And Stoudemire, hearing it from the crowd, he's 5 for 6. He has 12 points. Just under 4 remaining here in the first.
Transition score. Utah is going to play pick and roll. Come over, set the screen. Crotty has the ball. He will come off that screen looking for penetration or a jump shot. As he comes off the screen that's set by Malone and goes up for the jump shot, here's your shooter. These 2 people on the wings must cover back for him. They must rotate back in case anybody takes off down the middle. Stoudemire challenged the shot from behind Crotty's head, takes off down the floor. No one is there to cover the long pass. The assist, Patterson with the finish. Someone must cover the backcourt if the point guard is either going to go to the basket or pull up and shoot a jumper.
Very bad start here by the Utah Jazz. 2 of 10 from the field, 0 for 4 from the line. They've turned it over 4 times. They've scored only 4 points. Malone is fouled.
It was like a hesitation on very bad. I thought you were going to critique the telestrator that time.
No. I saw a little anxious look. That was an excellent telestrator. Yes.
I was concerned.
Andrei Kirilenko, the 20-year-old rookie from Russia, has checked in for the first time. Rick Brunson has come on for the Blazers.
So Kirilenko this summer playing for Russia in European Championships, played very well.
Looking ahead on our schedule, January 8th on TBS NBA Tuesday. Lakers will be in Detroit, going up against Jerry Stackhouse and the Pistons, covered starting 8 o'clock Eastern time. Then Wednesday, January 9th on TNT, it's the Magic at the Sixers at 8 o'clock Eastern. Then Thursday night, the Knicks and the Mavericks from Dallas. That'll start at 9. 23-6. Portland in front. 3.5 remaining in this first quarter. Derek Anderson on a quick release over Brian Russell, who just checked in. Brian Russell is just off the injured list. He was out 5 weeks with a fractured pelvis, missed 16 games, did play against the Celtics last night, played well. Says he's still sore, but he's hanging in.
Derek Anderson hit that jumper a few moments ago. He's shooting 39% from the floor. He just cannot get his shot to go down. They have struggled shooting the ball, Portland, from the backcourt.
Anderson 0 for 12 last night in his 27 minutes of play, and Anderson committed that foul. And Bonzi Wells has checked in for the first time. And I would say mixed reaction,
yes.
But not that many boos.
You know, I talked to a number of people in the building, and to a person, each of them said that is not what Bonzi Wells is all about. This is a good person, big in the community, and you get a 24-second violation that time by Utah. And they all feel it was just a moment of frustration where he came out and said something that he knows he made a mistake, he's sorry for.
Very compassionate crowd, though, here in Portland. I don't think he would receive the same very quiet greeting in many other cities around the NBA. 25-6, Portland with the lead. Last night, Karl Malone facing double and triple teams from the Celtics, opening things up for Brian Russell. Had a good ball game. Shot clock is down to 5. Once again, the Jazz having difficulty finding a shot. Down to 2. Russell, and it's a 24-second violation for the second straight possession.
One of the things about running a motion offense, or a pass, screen, cut type of offense, is that sometimes you wind up pass, and either you don't get a shot off, or the ball winds up in the wrong person's hands, who has to try and create a shot, and that player's not capable of doing it. That's one of the downsides of running a motion or passing game offense with a 24-second clock.
Wallace, air ball by Wallace, and then deflected out of bounds by Wells. This is the first time that Bonzi Wells has played here in Portland after making those harsh statements in Sports Illustrated magazine. Brian Russell showing the touch. Bonzi's been out with a knee injury. Returned last night at Sacramento after missing 6 games and was ejected, hit with a couple of technical fouls late third and early fourth quarter. Minute and a half remaining here in the first. Wells not able to hit on his first shot attempt.
There's a lot of frustration building up in the young man, without question. We could tell when we got to the arena tonight how concerned everyone was here in the organization with what's taken place. Many of them feel that some of the facts were not reported correctly, as John Crotty hits a three-pointer. And I would say maybe the mixed reaction, Mark, because maybe many of the people really feel he is a real good, solid person, that he did just make a mistake, that they're willing, to forgive someone.
For more on the Bonzi scenario, let's check in with Cheryl Miller. Cheryl?
And Mark, before the game, I spoke to Bonzi, and no one could be more apologetic about his comments. He said he definitely wants to put it behind him, but he wants to also learn from it. He understands now that he has to think before he speaks, especially when he's emotional, but he's just hoping that the Portland fans won't judge him on one stupid comment that he truly feels was taken out of context, Mark.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. John Crotty is called for the foul. Offensive foul on Crotty. We have 40 seconds remaining in the first quarter. 27-11. Portland sparked by Damon Stoudemire, who put on a terrific shooting performance. 5 for 6 for the field, 12 points. Last touched by the Jazz. Now Scott Padgett will come on for Utah. Utah began the season at 6-11. They won 4 straight, 8 of the last 12, showing some signs of turning it, although, as you mentioned earlier, Jerry Sloan is not satisfied with the way his team has played. I'm sure they'll hold through here in the first quarter.
And he also realizes that by bringing some of these youngsters into the regular rotation, that they're going to have to, be happy about the nights they perform well, but live with a lot of those nights where it's not the best performance.
Here's Russell for 3. Final seconds. And Padgett is fouled with 1 4/10 seconds to go on both as time runs out in this first quarter. Good one for the home team.
A rough night. 2 out of 10 from the floor and finished with 6 points. That's well off the mark. They just had their 9-game winning streak snapped last night in Charlotte, and Indiana Pacers having their way. Jamal Tinsley.
Same move.
There it is, 16
Different
points
day.
and 12 assists. You're right. Look at this thing. Somebody called for a fair catch.
Oh, that's a setup right there. Don't get a guy the ball with 1 second to go. That is crazy. I hate that. Danny Ainge used to do that. Let the shot clock run down to 1 or 2 seconds, then pass it to you. You have to throw up a haymaker.
108-81. Michael Jordan held to 6 points, and the last time that he was held to single digits was March 22nd, 1986. 8 points against Cleveland. Ends a streak of 866 games of double digits. And so right now the current active streak is 318 games by Kevin.
Welcome back to Portland, Oregon. Marv Albert with the Czar, Mike Fratello and Cheryl Miller. Very strange first half. A game that saw the Blazers lead by as many as 19 points in the first quarter. And Czar, here are the Jazz up by 3, despite the fact that Karl Malone has not scored a field goal. And John Stockton does not have an assist.
Well, how about this? The 3 leading scorers for Utah are in order: Malone, Marshall, and Stockton. They combined to average 54 points a game. At the half, they have a combined total of 6 points right now for Utah. And as you said, they're up in this game.
And the Jazz doing it with the bench, sparked by Brian Russell.
Well, John Crotty shot 2 for 6 and 4, had 10 big points, a little reverse layup. Brian Russell in 16 minutes, 6 for 10 from the floor, 13 points. Had that sweet stroke going. On the other end, Damon Stoudemire in 19 minutes, 7 for 10, 16 points. Did it by slicing through in transition, also pulling up, hitting that mid-range jump shot. So the small guards, the lefty small guards, had a big first half for both teams.
And a look at the halftime stats. You might want to circle a couple of these numbers. You'll get Telestrator credit, Czar. The bench for Utah outscoring the bench for Portland 32-2. And how about Utah? Season low, 11 points in that first quarter. They reel off the first 18 points of the second quarter. And then Portland establishes a season low with 8 points in the second quarter.
Does that make you happy?
That's very nicely done. We better get over to Cheryl Miller to bring this into perspective.
I was going to underline Cheryl if we went over.
Cheryl?
I appreciate that, guys, for letting me break in. But I spoke to Coach Cheeks, who said, you know, whenever you play the Utah Jazz, you expect Karl Malone and John Stockton to hurt you. That wasn't the case in the first half. As you guys have already mentioned, Utah's bench was strong with 32 points. But he said the main thing that we have to concentrate in the second half is eliminating the turnovers. And number two, they have got to get Rasheed Wallace involved in the second half. He was 0 for 3 with only 2 points, Mark.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Karl Malone played just 12 minutes in the first half. John Stockton, 7 minutes. Damon Stoudemire, 7 of 10, 16 points to lead the way for the Blazers in the first half. Stoudemire and Anderson in the backcourt. Wallace, Davis, and Patterson up front. Wallace trying to put a move on Malone and lost it. Another Blazer turnover. It's number 13.
They immediately go to Wallace. Unfortunately, they didn't get him down as low as they would have preferred. Karl Malone putting his body on Wallace as he cut across the lane, moved him out a couple feet off the lane. As a result, when he tried to turn in, dribbled the ball off his foot.
And that's 6 turnovers committed by Rasheed Wallace. Ostertag not able to handle that pass, and then Stevenson was able to call a timeout, a 20-second timeout to preserve the possession in the backcourt. Ostertag with Malone and Marshall up front. A wild shot by Stevenson.
Portland had gone to a little zone at the defensive end of the floor, and Stevenson found the seam, the opening, and got it up on the rim and got the lucky roll.
20-year-old Deshaun Stevenson, drafted out of high school. The Jazz's #1 draft pick last year. Wallace's foul. Foul on Malone. That is his second. And it's called in the act, so Wallace to the foul line. Losing to Phoenix, and Sacramento lost in Sacramento last night by 15, a season low 74 points. Maurice Cheeks very upset with their play last night. He said it was listless, no energy. They come in at 13 and 14. Portland is 0.2 of a percentage point once again. The Jazz able to score as John Stockton comes up with his second bucket. Portland 0.2 of a percentage point behind Seattle and Utah for the 8th best record in the Western Conference. Ruben Patterson. Patterson has 11. It's a 3-point Jazz lead. Malone. Karl Malone with his first field goal. Karl Malone comes in among the leading scorers. He's averaging 24 points per game. Patterson able to save it. Anderson is hit on the reach-in by Ostertag.
Ostertag basically just took that foul before Derek Anderson could get off the ground and start to elevate to shoot the ball, so it'll just give Portland the ball on the side out.
Wallace setting the pick for Stoudemire, then they double up, leading to the foul call.
You can see Utah going after Stoudemire hard as he comes off the pick and roll screens with their arms up, forcing the small guard to try and throw the ball over the top of the outstretched arms.
That is number 3 on Malone. Talked about the quiet first half. Malone and Stockton. Donyell Marshall also not able to get going. Anderson for 3. So the Blazers now trail by 2.
Actually, Derek Anderson has shot the ball pretty well, 36% from the 3-point line this season.
Coming off the 0 for 12 last night, Ostertag gets the new 24. Marshall posting on Patterson, who rejects it. Hit by Wallace.
Sean Kemp prior to the game and asked him how things are working out as Stoudemire pulls up and misses the jumper, and he said, just trying to get some playing time on a regular basis, trying to work my way back in there. Still working at trying to get his weight back down again. He's not to the point where he would like to be, but he's working at it. He was out here early tonight. with 5 or 6 of his teammates, with that early crew that comes out and gets a little bit of extra work in. So, you know, talking to Maurice Cheeks, he said one thing, Sean knows how to play the game. He understands how the game is supposed to be played.
Saw Rasheed Wallace sit down after picking up his 4th foul. Patterson for Davis. And a loose ball foul. Foul on Patterson. That is his first. It has been a bizarre game with the Portland Trail Blazers looking so sharp in the first quarter, led by as many as 18 consecutive points scored by Utah in the second quarter, right at the start of the second. Here's Malone. Yes. So he's hit a couple of jumpers. And the Jazz now lead by 6.
I heard you mention Czar.
No, Bizarre. Which actually several people have referred to you with that moniker. Not directly. Behind your back.
I like that.
And a foul called. It is on Malone. That's 4. Malone is trying to sell Jerry Sloan on keeping him on the floor. Sloan says no, and Scott Patrick will come on.
Play here, both saving baskets.
Stockton rejected by Davis. Stoudemire fouled by Patrick. Foul is called on the Jazz. It's on Stockton. That's his second. So once again, Portland to the foul line. And for a while early on, Scottie Pippen was actually the point guard.
And as I mentioned earlier, that would be a major decision for Maurice Cheeks. Not the decision as far as does Pippen go back into the lineup. That's for sure. He's going back in the lineup. But where do you put him in? Who sits down on the bench? Is it Anderson that sits down? Is it Stoudemire or Patterson that will take a seat and reverse roles with Scottie Pippen?
Blazers within 1 point, just under 7 remaining in the third. Stockton able to penetrate.
John Stockton almost couldn't believe it was that wide open. He was really ready to pull up and shoot about a 10-foot jump shot, and then he just said, there's nobody there. Let me just keep floating down the lane and lay it up.
Anderson with the setup for Davis. 50-49, Utah.
Big people have to step up and stop the small people from curling in the lane. That was Ostertag's job, to stop Anderson from curling. As a result, Anderson drew 2 or 3 defenders and then found his open teammate.
Stockton once again able to get inside.
He's abusing Stoudemire right now at the defensive end of the floor for Stoudemire.
Kemp is fouled by Ostertag. Nice lead pass thrown to set up Shawn Kemp.
Little backdoor here. Stoudemire turns his head. Stockton goes to the basket, receives the pass, and lays it in.
Floor. Brief rest for John Stockton. He's getting set to check back in. Foul is called on Paget. Here comes Stockton. John Stockton will celebrate a 40th birthday in March. John in his 18th year out of Gonzaga. Well, it's down to a 6-point lead. And Rasheed Wallace with his first field goal. Foul called on Brunson.
Normally at the defensive end of the floor for Utah, you'd have Karl Malone playing against Wallace right now, but Malone having the 4 fouls, they're trying to keep him away from picking up number 5. And Patrick's just too small to defend against Wallace. If you don't go double team, he's just going to shoot right over the top of him each time.
Stockton for 3. With the shot clock running down, John Stockton able to hit from downtown, and Utah leads by 9. A sensational second half for Stockton. 15 of his 17 have come in the second half, and a reach-in foul is called on Utah. It's on Stockton. Talking a moment ago about John Stockton's age, and he's averaging better than 31 minutes a game. The oldest players of the NBA, Patrick Ewing, Kevin Willis also at 39, Hakeem, Michael, Karl Malone at 38. Two minutes gone by in the fourth quarter. Jerry Sloan now going with the backcourt of Stockton and Crotty. Nice setup from Crotty to Malone.
Karl Malone, perfect timing when he stepped in the lane, caught his defensive player on his back, and then once Crotty looked up and saw Malone in the lane, nothing more to do.
Certainly discovered in recent years, it's the mix of players. It does not necessarily pay to have a combination of so-called all-stars. It's obviously the chemistry involved. And there's Bob Whitsitt, the Blazers president, general manager.
Yeah, just taking a bunch of all-stars and putting them together doesn't necessarily guarantee a winning franchise or a franchise that can go far into the playoffs, because players must be willing to accept their role, understand what their particular job is to do with that team. Who's your rebounder? Who's your scorer? Who's your spot-up shooter? Who's going to handle the ball and make decisions with it? It's that blend. And then you have to have the people on the bench who are willing to come in and play their respective roles. And if you should have an injury to the starters, can they step up into that starting lineup and be very productive?
Foul on Padgett, his third. Kirilenko now sits down. It's Padgett up front now with Malone and Ostertag. Ostertag defending on Wallace. Malone taken off that assignment with the 4 fouls. Off the steal. Away from the ball, the foul is called. Foul on Malone. That is number 5.
You want to watch Karl Malone as he goes down the floor. Here's Malone taking off right there. As you keep your eye on him, he hits right there with the right elbow. You see him throw it out, knocking the Portland player off the floor. Good call by the official.
Malone had some words for the referee, Ed Rush, disagreeing with that call. Wallace backing his way on Padgett. Boumtje not able to hit on the putback. Malone, yes. Wallace backing his way on Padgett. Boumtje not able to hit on the putback. Malone, yes. Karl Malone giving the Jazz a 78-67 lead. Anderson is fouled. Foul committed by Crotty.
You can see the obvious effects, Marv, of the new defensive rules, guidelines, and the interpretation thereof. How a post-up player like Wallace or Karl Malone at the other end, they draw that other player who now may double-team him without the ball, or if he does get the ball, he can kind of play halfway between his guy and that man in the post, so it causes a decision to become a little bit harder for the post-up guy. Should he go or not go? Be careful of the strip.
Anderson now 6 of 7 at the line. Well, you can vote right now for the starters in the 2002 NBA All-Star Game. Log on to NBA.com or American Online, keyword NBA All-Star, and cast your vote. Malone. Karl Malone has been a perimeter guy throughout the night. He's been hitting the jumper in the second half. Now has 12 points. Stoudemire for 3. And he's been hitting all night long. 21 for Damon Stoudemire. 80-72, Utah.
Talk about hitting Karl Malone after he made that last jump shot, ran down the sideline. Brian Russell was walking to the table. He gave him a little punch in the chest, just as if to say, you're not the only one that can make some jump shots, you know.
Malone pressure is preserved by the Blazers. Stoudemire with a bad shot.
You can't get caught up in the emotion of the crowd or the fact that you happen to make the last jump shot. If you think you've got to go, and you still have to wind up taking good high percentage shots, and that's one that they could have done without.
.720 remaining in this fourth quarter. Utah Jazz at 14-15. They've won 2 straight, 8 of the last 12. Russell gets inside. And the foul. Crowd looking for a traveling violation.
Russell kept that pivot foot down long enough until he elevated. It was not a travel, and then we see the turned ankle right there. He's grimacing as Derek Anderson is trying to officiate the game.
Ryan Russell with 16 points. Russell coming back off the injured list. He was out 5 weeks with a fractured pelvis. 83-72 Utah. Anderson kicks it out. Patterson slashing his way and is fouled. Russell did not see.
I saw Russell turn his head, and I knew Karl Malone saw he was open on the reverse. He just wasn't anticipating that pass. It was very nice. You'll watch Russell down the low post. Now he's going to reverse from right here. He's not looking. Karl Malone is the turnover.
Wallace's pass deflected. Stoudemire with the shot clock running down. Down to 3. Patterson kept alive by the Blazers. Stoudemire for 3. Wallace is fouled. So with 6:16 remaining in the fourth and a 9-point lead for the Jazz. Let's go to Ernie Johnson in our Atlanta studio.
Stockton make one of his very few mistakes here. They had a 4-on-3 fast break, but holding a 12-point lead, it was not the time to try to throw the lob pass over the rim. Stockton tried it, missed it, turnover. Portland goes down, gets fouled, and makes 1 out of 2 free throws.
Malone changed his mind. He was about to shoot the 3. Last touch by the Blazers. Well, we heard the bonus coverage a moment ago. The game-winning shot by Stephon Marbury to beat the Boston Celtics. The Suns 84, Celtics 82. Meanwhile, in Detroit, the Nets over the Pistons 88-75. So New Jersey on top in the Atlantic with a record of 18-9. Kirilenko forcing it. Ostertag with the offensive board.
Jersey now in first place with an 18-9 record by Phoenix winning that game. Phoenix goes to 17-13 in the Pacific Division.
And the Celtics beaten last night in Salt Lake City by these Jazz. Lose again on the road. Malone does it once again. 17 points for Karl Malone. 15 of the 17 in the second half. And Karl is 7 of 8 from the field in the second half. Rick Ostertag commits the foul, and that is number 6. But a strong game for Ostertag. 14 rebounds, 5 on the offensive glass. He did not start the game. He came off the bench. He was part of the crew that helped turn things in the second quarter. The rookie Jaron Collins was the starter. Danielle Marshall now checks back in.
Well, Jerry Sloan has to be happy because Ostertag going into tonight, Marv, was averaging just over 18 minutes per game, so he gets 30 strong minutes out of him. You talked about the 14 rebounds, plus he took a couple smart fouls out there, preventing layups by Portland. He played very big tonight, played smart basketball tonight.
And he's played well back-to-back, had the 6 block shots last night in the win against the Celtics. This is a baffling performance by the Blazers. They came out all charged up. They lead by 19 in the first quarter. Ryan Russell. 18 points for Russell. Crowd was really into it. Damon Stoudemire hitting his shots early on. Rasheed Wallace has come on late, but did not produce in the first half, and he's been in foul trouble. Then Utah was able to reel off 18 straight points at the start of the second quarter. Here's Malone. Looked like Davis got a piece of it.
And Portland, just by pressing, got what they wanted. A quick shot out of Utah, and now the opportunity to come back and cut into this lead.
But Stoudemire turns it over.
That's not what they want.
And the foul is called. That is team foul number 4 on the Blazers. 18 turnovers for Portland. And this crowd is filing out. Blazers had won 3 straight at home. They are now facing their 3rd straight loss and a record of 13 and 15.
And you see the veteran running time off that 24-second clock.
Foul is called on
this Portland Trailblazers team.
Oh, this is an opinion type question.
Yeah, it's a.
Well, I think that's one of the problems. I would repose that as the story of this club. Who is the leader? I think there is a leadership problem. Do you agree? Among other problems.
You probably would think that on this team, it's supposed to be Scottie Pippen.
I don't think that's one of his qualities. He's an excellent, or was an excellent, supportive guy.
But because of the experience and the championships in the past, they probably turned to him and the rest of the players and expecting that to be the voice that they're going to follow. But I'm not sure that's part of Scottie's personality.
I agree with you.
Thank you. I kind of asked the question and
No, that's one of the many issues that are facing Maurice Cheeks and his coaching staff. And there are many issues. The Utah Jazz with a 99-87 victory over the Portland Trailblazers. The Utah bench turning it. They outscored the Portland bench 56-16. Karl Malone finishes with 19-17 of the 19 of the second half. How about John Stockton? 18 of his 20 in the second half. All 11 assists in the second half. Russell had 18 and 14 for Kirilenko. 14 rebounds for Ostertag. Damon Stoudemire was the high point man for the Blazers with 22 points. Utah now 15-15, 3 straight wins, and they have won 9 of the last 12.